Luke, welcome to our show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, it's just following the Christmas break, so I'm really excited to be here with you today and explore the topic that we're going to be speaking about. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for showing up. It's a really perfect time for the episode after the holidays, I guess. So it is interesting. Knowing that you are a life coach and throughout all the work that you've been doing, can you tell us maybe more about one challenge that you see people facing, maybe towards their personal growth?
Mm. I think a lot of people will go through a lot of different challenges, and one of them will be thinking about what they can do to achieve their big goal, their what they would call their purpose, moving towards things that they would want to achieve in their life. When they look back on their life, on their deathbed, or whenever that is, what do they want to have say they achieved? And a lot of people that I've been working with recently have been thinking about purpose and what is their purpose. So yeah, I'd say a lot of things to do with that end goal, but also how to get there, what the journey is, and what the small steps are that will get them to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you are saying the purpose. So the main challenge is to find the purpose that they're, for example, striving for. But from your perspective, what is your take on that? Like when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Luke, I don't know what my purpose is. Can you help me?" What do you do in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good few things you can do. First of all, taking a step back and looking at your life. When I first started with my clients, I usually use a exercise that created the 12 aspects of life, looking at different parts like business and career, how you're doing, the family aspect, your relationships, your contribution to society, your personal growth, and really getting a bird's eye view of what your life is right now. Then thinking about what is it that you actually want from your future? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Is a powerful question that makes you really think, okay, if I couldn't fail and I could be at the highest position in my life, where would that be for me? So it's about understanding a broader and more wide kind of thinking for where you want to go.
Yeah, so you're taking a more general perspective on their lives and then guiding them along the process. Uh, Cool. Yeah, that sounds perfect. But and later on, how does this process look like? Like, what are the some key actions that you advise your clients, let's say, to take in order to achieve their goals?
Mm. Yeah, it's all about accountability, consistency, and not putting too much pressure on what it is that you want to achieve. And I say those things kind of in an order where you want to be consistent with what you're doing. You won't have the best thing or like your best performance on your first go. You will make mistakes and it's okay. That's why I would say start slow, but make sure you're doing something. I mean, it's cliche to say be consistent, start slow, all of these different things, but in a way, that is what everyone's that is successful, that is their secret. They were consistent in what they were doing. They were putting the effort day in, day out to get to where they wanted to be. And I would also say being disciplined to what you want to achieve. I've realized that discipline is the thing that creates memories down the line when you stick to something for so long. And even if it's not the thing that you want to be doing in the moment, when you actually stick to that thing, you will create a memory down in the long term, which I think is really important for a lot of people in this day and age.
Yeah, right. That's absolutely right. But about the pressure, something interesting comes to my mind here when you talk about that, because some people think of it as staying in their comfort zone and not doing something like very extreme in order to not put pressure on themselves. So, how do you combine these two concepts on being in oneself's comfort zone or getting out of their comfort zone, and how about the anxiety that might face, and the it might not be that easy to do. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I would say it comes to a lot of um feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's a great sort of analogy. And one thing that I done this year that I felt was really scary to me at the start was a skydive that I done. I've never done it before. It was something that I always wanted to do. It was always on my bucket list, but I was also extremely fearful of heights and flying. So putting the two together and saying, you know what, I'm going to do a skydive and then actually doing it is one of those things where I realized on the other side of fear is growth, not just like physically, but mentally inside and how you can perceive life and the open-mindedness that it will bring for you.
Yeah, I think this is very inspiring. Can you maybe give us more details on this idea from the perspective of feeling the fear but doing it anyway? Because some people, like, there are two extremes here. Some people feel that the fear is paralyzing them and preventing them from doing anything. And there are people who are suppressing that fear, which might work at the moment and it might allow them to do their stuff, but it might come back to bite later on, or it could backfire somehow. So I think it's very undervalued to find this, like, underrated, this balance between, like, the self-help community that are pushing you, like, just do it, and like this just do it mentality, you know. And on the other hand, there are the extreme anxiety that is preventing you from doing anything. So how to find this balance? What do you think?
I mean, it's different for everyone, as everyone is comfortable with different things. But the more you try and the more you keep your mind open to different possibilities, the more doors will open for you in the future. Whether that's doing a presentation that you're scared to do or maybe fearful to do, like a skydive, which is like a personal challenge that someone might not want to do, but may notice that they might feel more comfortable in certain situations after. No matter what it is that you think about doing or what it is you want to do, when you do bite the bullet and say, you know what, I'm just gonna throw myself in the deep end, sometimes you will notice that you feel comfortable there anyway. I would advise people to ask themselves these three questions if they come across fear. And the first question is, what am I actually afraid of? The second question is, am I afraid of the process or the outcome? And number three is, can I handle it? And thinking about those three questions, what are the things that are in your way of getting to the other side of it? And once you can figure out what those things are, things start to become a bit more clearer for you.
Yeah. So you've asked yourself these questions before the skydive, I assume, right? So at what moment in time have you asked yourself this? Was it on the when you signed up, or when you were about to take the plunge?
Yeah, so it was I was very fortunate to be coached on this by a colleague of mine. And what I realized was that I was getting more in my own head thinking about it rather than acting on how to deal with it. Because I knew it was something that was gonna be difficult to do, but I also knew that I could control a lot of different things. My preparation into doing it, which I came across visualization, which I do anyway. But when I do end up visualizing everything that can go wrong, everything that can go right, the most perfect way I see the skydive going, visualizing all these different things gives you a more calmer and more peaceful approach to what can happen. Because when you come to terms with, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, you can die. If something goes wrong, I'd say to myself, Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that? And I mean, the response for me would be, I've done enough things in my life, or I'm happy with the person I've become, even though I'm still wanting to achieve so many different things, but I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with whatever happens. But I'm also aware that the things that will come from it will level me up as a person mentally, as I'll be able to experience different things and different emotions going through my head at the time.
Right. Yeah, this is inspiring for sure. And you mentioned that you've been coached before doing that. And I wanted to ask your opinion on coaching in particular. When do you find it more advisable for people? And do you think that people could also self-coach themselves somehow? And yeah, what is your thought on that?
Mm. So the two questions are, I'll answer the first one of who would want to go to coaching. Anyone that wants the coaching, coaching is on a sort of as a coach, I can only do so much to help someone. I cannot force someone to go do something or change their life. It's down to them. What I provide is the support, the guidance, the help, the thought-provoking questions, the presence that I'll provide. That's what I provide as a coach. So when I think about what it is that someone would want from a coach or what it is that someone would need from a coach, if you're stuck on the next step, you want to work through a problem, you want to create a goal, you want to sort of understand yourself a bit better, they're the sort of things I would go to for a coach. And it also greatly depends on the fit. If the coach doesn't understand you or doesn't understand your own process of thinking and how you perceive different questions, yeah, it definitely depends on the fit as well.
Yeah, I
And
think yeah, it's highly personalized thing and highly subjective. That's why it's often difficult to find a match between the coach and the client. But
mhm,
yeah, you like from your perspective, whenever there is a critical like life decision, it's always advisable to get these like extra help, additional help in order. But something should come out from yourself, from the inside anyway, right?
100%.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Cool. So back to this skydiving example. When you mentioned that when you did it, after you've done it, what was the impact on you, and how do you project that to other life situations when you face your fear? And you said that you there is growth on the other side. So how would you explain that in more like practical terms, let's say?
Yeah, I think it opened your mind up to the next challenge. And it's when you're in that next challenge or that next moment where you have to think about, okay, I'm here. You've got the past experiences where you've been through something tough to get to where you want to be. And when I do think about the challenges that I put myself through, I can look back at the skydiving and be like, wow, I actually jumped out of a plane at 13,000 feet and felt the emotions of the lead up, um, the actual free fall, and then the peaceful ride down. Um, and it was something that I knew was going to be tough for me to do. And I actually have a question for you, Albert, if you don't mind. What would you say your biggest sort of fear or challenge that you've had, and how do you think it affected you as a person?
I mean, definitely, like my life has been full of challenges. One challenge I would say is like one recent challenge is starting this podcast, maybe, because yeah, I find it stressful and anxious to speak and in real time come up with ideas and questions and all of that. So it was kind of a struggle or out of my comfort zone at first. But then, yeah, as you were describing the process, it became much easier. But not only that, I experienced growth when I faced my fears and just went out there and didn't care or attach to the outcome, and
Mm.
just felt how the process is and enjoyed the thing, because I had a motivation in the first place, right? So that motivation, I kept focusing on my motivation, and this somehow distracts me from the fears, and it allows the process to be smoother and much more fulfilling.
I think that is one of the most important things about any journey, not focusing on the outcome, but just focusing on enjoying the process, because the process is going to have its ups and its downs. It's not going to be a smooth ride. But when you learn to enjoy what you're doing because of the thought of one day you'll be able to reach that outcome, that's when you will enjoy life. And I think putting yourself through those challenges, because you know how successful this podcast will be in the future, you're gonna maybe feel some fear in the present to then have that outcome in your future.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can definitely resonate with that. And yeah, the fears are like, the interesting part here is that it's not only one fear. There are too many fears, like fear of judgment, fear of vulnerability, fear of speaking, or like being judged or being seen, or fear of like getting rejection or something like that. So it's a combination of too many things, but focusing on the process and enjoying that, it's really helps of distracting and turning it into an enjoyable experience. So yeah, and from your experience, maybe you can tell us about some maybe client of yours who was especially, for example, challenging, and the things didn't go that smooth with them at first, and how did you deal with that, and how did it come out at the end?
Yeah, I do have quite a few clients. I mean, there's when you're coaching, you have a wide range of clients, and you have some that are very, in a way, easy, where you have the call and you just know they'll get everything done that they've set themselves. But then you also have the challenges where they might not actually want to do the things, or they haven't turned up and been, oh, I've followed up with him with my action point. And it's not to really look at myself. It's more to look at, okay, was the thing that you set yourself an actual realistic thing for you? And do you think that maybe there was something else that should have been done prior to that? So I would always say in any of my coaching sessions, it's to open up the mind of the person that I'm coaching by asking questions, by listening, not just hearing, but listening and reflecting, clarifying, asking, maybe even suggesting something if that comes up. But thinking about, how can I open up this person's mind by not just leading them down something that I think is right, by something that they think is right, or their path to success. So if I think about a client that maybe wasn't doing so well in thinking about their own goals, it was more to reset and think, okay, what is it, the issues that you're having right now? Because overthinking and anxiety usually comes from underacting. And when we have all these thoughts bottling up in our head, sometimes it is hard to just think about what is that first step. You think about, oh, I need to do this, that, this, that. But it is just doing that first step, following the action point. And when we think about overthinking and clouding our thoughts with judgment, one amazing way that I would say to people would be to talk to yourself, let those thoughts out, and journal. Journal, talk to yourself, because we do have so many thoughts. There's a statistic, I think it's like 80,000 thoughts a day. and our brain is actually wired to delete all the unnecessary information. So having all of these thoughts come into our head and not having them on paper or speaking them out loud, they're gonna just get forgotten, and then you're just gonna have new thought process come in. So it is very important to act, as all of us know, it's so important to act.
Yeah, I think this is very important, and it's very good advice about journaling. I started practicing this only recently, and it was really helpful. But they said that you need to establish like this habit for a prolonged time to feel the real benefits of it.
Mm,
So maybe you can give us some advices for new starters, just like myself, on how to journal in order to like have the maximum outcome of it or the maximum benefit based on our context.
yeah, I'm gonna give you one technique that is a little different. It's from Andrew Huberman. And it was actually a like a scientific experiment that they used, and it was one time a week for like 4 times for 15 to 30 minutes. Write down everything that you feel is maybe holding you back in life, negative in life. So all these negative emotions, just put it on paper and don't stop for those 15 to 30 minutes. Just keep writing. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. And what it is that does is it kind of puts everything on paper so you can read it and understand that those are the hardest things that are going on right now in your life. And once you realize it's just that, you can start focusing on, okay, this is what I need to do. It was a very, I can send the link to you after. Maybe you want to put a link to the podcast. I found it very interesting. Um, but if you don't want to do something like that and you want to keep it more positive, I would say to maybe talk about in your journaling what you're grateful for, what you want to achieve, and maybe a few challenges that are going on right now, and then having an action point at the end. Because I do think it's important to follow up with an action in no matter what you do. Um, the best way to learn something is to teach it and follow through with action. So having action will stick in your head and then help you within your future progression.
Yeah, that's an amazing advice. I think I'll start doing that. And yeah, maybe you can send me the podcast so I can add it to the description so everybody could check it as well. I think it's really helpful. So now I think we're coming to the end of the episode. Any like final thoughts or final tips that you can give us before wrapping up?
Yeah, I'd say it's all about writing your own story and figuring out, okay, what do I want to look back on in my life and say I've done or I've been through. And I mean, we can look at so many other people with great success stories, but they've been through their own challenges, their own, maybe you could call it discomfort in life. But what are you willing to put yourself through to write the best story for yourself? And overcoming challenges is one of the most important ways to do that. And
Yeah.
I want to ask I want to ask your takeaway as well because I feel like we've had a great conversation.
Yes, I mean, the conversation was absolutely amazing. My takeaways, yes, are, as you said, just getting out of your comfort zone, feel the fear and do it anyway, because
Mm.
I think this is the way to grow mentally and to find your personal growth in all ways. And I think the journaling part was really helpful and beneficial. So very,
Um,
very
uh,
amazing advices. Thank you so much, Luke, for sharing all these ideas. That was very inspiring and hope to see you next time.
yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really enjoyed it.
Sure. Thank you.